Get Arne Slot out of our club. Losing 4-2 to Max Allegri's AC Milan. Completely unacceptable, or not really. If you see anyone seriously saying that, block them right away. Just don't block us, we're obviously joking. Yeah, we kicked off our pre-season tour with a loss, and that's never fun, but here's the thing, it's pre-season. The players aren't fully sharp yet, and the manager is still trying out new ideas. That's exactly what this period is for. So while it's tempting to overanalyze and make bold predictions about what next season will look like, it's way too early for any real conclusions. But that won't stop us from doing it anyway. Today, we're going to break down some of the most interesting things we saw, especially in the first half, and try to figure out what new ideas Arne Slot is bringing to the table. At the same time, we'll highlight the biggest issue that led to 3 of the goals we conceded. So hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump straight into the video. Let us not break any traditions and begin with the starting lineup. Alisson was between the posts, with Van Dijk and Ryan Gravenberch forming the centre-back pairing. Robertson slotted in at left-back, while Stevenson once again showed his versatility by stepping in at right-back. The midfield trio was made up of Tyler Morton, Dominic Szoboszlai and Florian Wirtz. Up front, we had Salah, Ngumoha and Harvey Elliott, who often dropped into midfield, playing either as a false 9 or a second number 10. Now, if you were to add in players like Bradley or Frimpong, Kerkez, Gakpo, Ekitike, Konate, and Mac Allister, you'd pretty much have a full-strength squad. So what was the first thing that stood out in this game? It's the build-up play. Last season, we stuck to a clear 4-2 structure in possession. The 2 centre-backs stayed central, full-backs positioned deep and tucked in, and we had 2 pivots holding the middle. It helped us keep the ball and maintain passing options, but as the season went on, teams started to figure it out. Man-to-man pressing became a real problem for us. That's why it made perfect sense for Arne Slot to try something different, and that's exactly what he did. Take a look at how Alisson steps up between the centre-backs, who split wide on either side of him. This creates an overload against the opposition's first line of press, turning the keeper into an extra outfield player. It's a small shift, but it makes a big difference in helping us play out from the back. At the same time, notice how the fullbacks start in a much higher position. Because of that, we don't see the usual 4-2 shape in the build-up, just a hint of it. That higher positioning leaves the fullback zone vacant, but that's not a problem if the player can lose his marker and drop back into that space. If he times it right, he'll have more room to receive the ball and link up play. In the central areas, the players are constantly trying to create space, not just for themselves, but for each other by dragging defenders out of position and pinning them in place. This movement opens up passing lanes through the middle and brings players close together so they can combine and play through pressure. Take this moment as an example. Elliott drops deep, and by doing that, he creates an overload in our favour. He also becomes a passing option for Stevenson. The defender who's supposed to follow Elliott can't fully commit because Wirtz is nearby, lurking between the lines and threatening to exploit any space that opens up. That presence holds the marker in place, which gives Elliott just enough time and room to receive the ball and link up. Speaking of Wirtz, even though he only played one half, he showed exactly why we spent that hefty fee on him. He's simply one of the most intelligent players in world football. The guy is basically a master of space, if that makes any sense. Give him even the smallest breather, and he'll pop up in the perfect spot, either finding space or receiving in tight areas, and still managing to drive forward with the ball. In this one sequence alone, you can see how many times he separated himself from his marker with nothing more than a few simple backward or sideways steps. All the while, he's constantly scanning the pitch, reading the situation, and once he gets the ball, just 2 quick touches are all it takes for him to shake off his defenders and turn to face goal. But that's not all. As part of a dynamic and fluid midfield trio, Wirtz also dropped deeper at times to offer a passing option and used his technique to help us progress the ball forward. He wasn't just floating around in the final third, he was involved all over the pitch. While he did that, the fullbacks were constantly pushing higher, attacking the half spaces. We saw this kind of movement last season too, like against Preston when Bradley was making those same runs. And now, against Milan, we had a moment where Robertson popped up so high that we almost mistook him for Wirtz when he took that curling left-footed shot from the edge of the box. These constant overloads from the attacking midfielders, the goalkeeper joining the build-up, and the fullbacks pushing high gave us new ways to drag defenders around and open up space. It's a great way to deal with man-to-man marking systems. But with this new approach, there's also a downside. A vulnerability that allowed AC Milan to score 3 of their 4 goals. Yes, you heard that right, 3 goals. So let's break it down. Last season, we used a 4-2 base in possession to give ourselves more defensive security in case we lost the ball. It's all about thinking one step ahead. You have to defend while attacking. That's what we call rest defense. It's the way players position themselves when in possession, so they're ready to react the moment the ball is lost. With a 4-2 structure, you have 6 players ready to deal with transitions. But with this new shift to a 3-2 or even a 2-3 build-up, we're leaving fewer players behind to cover. That means less protection when we lose the ball and more space for the opposition to take advantage of. Milan's first goal is a textbook example of that. This right here is the exact moment we lost possession. Just look at how exposed our rest defense was, only 3 players left as a safety net. What made it worse is that Gravenberch stepped forward to try and stop the counter, but the pass still made it through to Leao. And just like that, you've got a wide open situation that starts to look more like a basketball game than football. 2 more goals were also conceded from similar transitions, but we won't go into those in detail because it's really the same issue. It's all coming from a new system that Slot is trying out, and at the end of the day, this is just a friendly. No need to blow things out of proportion. If this becomes a trend in the coming matches, then maybe we should start raising some eyebrows, but for now, it's all part of the process. Now, let's take a moment to highlight a few standout players based on their performances. First up, Dominik Szoboszlai. His off-the-ball movement was excellent, and it's going to be a key factor in a fluid system that's built to drag defenders around and open up space. On top of that, he capped it off with a brilliant goal, but then again, we all know Sobo only scores bangers. Rio Numoa was another bright spot in this match. He consistently took players on, trying to create something out of nothing every time he got the ball. His ability to dribble both ways is a nightmare for defenders, and there's no doubt in our minds that the youngster has a very bright future at this club. And before we wrap up the video, we've got a couple of questions for you to think about. Throughout the game, we didn't use a single natural centre-back pairing. Gravenberch played in defence during the first half, and Tsimikas filled in during the second. With Jarell Kwanzaa gone and Gomez still unreliable in terms of fitness, doesn't that make signing a centre-back a top priority this window? Another thing, if we're going to keep pushing our fullbacks so high and we're getting hurt on transitions like we did against Milan, doesn't that suggest we need a more destructive defensive midfielder? Someone who can really strengthen our rest defense. Maybe we'll start seeing more of Endo. Let us know what you think in the comments. And that's all from us for today. It's only the second televised preseason game, and while there's definitely stuff to improve on, there's also a lot to be excited about. Arne Slot is clearly trying to bring in new ideas, and yeah, it might take some time to get everything clicking, but that's exactly what preseason is for. You can already see signs of the kind of football he wants to play: fluid, technical, fast, and once the players get more minutes in their legs, we'll start to see it come together even more. At the same time, we can't ignore the issues: the transition vulnerability, the lack of depth in defense, and maybe even the need for a proper destroyer in midfield. Those are all real questions that need answers before the season kicks off. But let's not panic just yet. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this breakdown and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. We've got plenty more content coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.